Well, Jim, our guest is here right now. Our guest is here right now, and I guess she is with us. She is a Republican, a war hawk. She flirted with libertarianism, according, but then she didn't like a lot of our social issues, and she was completely against Ron Paul and Rand Paul, she told me, on the war front. Here she is, Bettina Viviano. Here she is, and if I can, gotta unmute her. There you go. Hello, Bettina.
Hello. Do you have me unmuted now?
Yes,
hello?
You are unmuted.
Okay.
You are unmuted. So.
You know, I love that. I almost didn't come on the show because being called a war hawk. I'm not a war hawk. I never said that, and it's not the social issues I don't agree with you on libertarian-wise, because you and I had this conversation. I don't give I couldn't care less who gets married and who has an abortion. So is that the social issue thing?
Well,
so maybe I got misinterpreted a little bit. The only problem I have with libertarians is the foreign policy, which I think is sort of to the left of Jimmy Carter and Obama. So, yes, I do have an issue with that because I'd rather stay alive for the next 20 years, but I'm not a war hawk. And I mean, honestly, you're painting me so far to the right, and I don't know, you know, the people on the right don't like me because I won't come out publicly and, you know, trash gay marriage or trash abortions, and, you know, because I really find that not to even be a valuable use of my time. It's worthless. So, you know, how do you make people happy when they're trying to pigeonhole you into something? Yes, I'm a Republican, and yes, we had a huge wave, and yes, I think it was incredible and important because of Obama. He's like the most dangerous human being ever to disgrace this country. So,
before Obama came into the picture, George W. Bush was the worst spender there was, but now Obama has beat him by a long shot. So I would agree with you on that.
But here's the thing. Bush isn't president anymore. And so, you know, that has to be retired. And by the way, I didn't vote for Bush either time. So talking to me about it's irrelevant. It's just a comment that doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is that I made a documentary about Obama, and he's so much more dangerous than George Bush for so many reasons. To me, that there has to be a way to stop the damage. And, you know, I read, I think, on your page, you saying something about how the Republicans have done absolutely nothing to stop taxes, to stop government growth, to do regulations, to do this. That absolutely is not true. I mean, there's 370 House bills that I've read a lot of because I was doing an ad for the National Republican Senate Committee, and I researched all of these bills that have been sitting on Harry Reid's desk for years that were passed 40% bipartisan, and there were jobs bills, tax bills, Obamacare bills. But how do they move them through Harry Reid's Senate?
Okay.
You know, they can't.
Jim, go ahead. This is your interview, so go for it.
Well, first let's start off. Why don't you give us a quick bio of yourself?
My bio was, I'm from Missouri. I came out to California, went to USC. I started working in the film business when I was 19 at the William Morris Agency. I've been an agent, a manager, a film producer, have my own company called Accelerate Entertainment. I didn't vote or do anything politically until 2008 when the Hillary Clinton campaign called my management client, director, and best friend, who was a Democrat, a Hillary Democrat, and asked for her to direct and produce a documentary about the voter fraud Obama was committing and the DNC against her in the primary. So my client called me up and said, how would you like to make a documentary about voter fraud in the Democratic primary? And I just looked at the phone and I said, are you smoking crack? Why in the world would I want to have anything to do with the Democratic primary? I had to ask what a primary was, first of all, because I had no idea. I had no idea what a caucus was or anything else. But I did it, and it ended up being a real big education, because it was, a lot of fun to watch Acorn at it. They're very real. They do exist. I've watched it. And we had a lot of attention. John Fund from the Wall Street Journal. What?
I was just saying, no argument there. Go ahead.
No, honestly, it was the worst thing I have ever been through in my entire life, ever. I have nightmares about what I saw. And, of course, it forced us to do research on Obama. We knew who George Soros was before Glenn Beck talked about it 4 years later. I knew exactly who he was. I knew what he did. I knew who he picked. I knew why he picked Obama and not Hillary. I knew we had consultants at the highest level of the Democratic Party, like Hillary's best friend, and high-level Democrats telling us everything. Because the truth be told, the Clintons hate the Obamas. They still do. So after that, and our documentary ran on Fox for 6 weeks. Gloria Allred's in it. Geraldine Ferraro's in it. And after that, I couldn't vote for a Democrat no matter what, just on principle, because they all knew what they did. They all watched it. They all watched this horrible abuse of this woman, who, by the way, I do not like. But I still thought she was entitled to a fair election, regardless of who she is. And it colors a lot of our elections, all this voter fraud. I mean, it's a very real issue, which, by the way, is another thing. I have a problem with Rand Paul saying there's no such thing as voter fraud. It's a flat-out lie. I've documented it. I've actually caught it on tape. So has, James O'Keefe. So, we've all seen it happen. I think it's a huge problem in our country. So
I want to go ahead and open up the floor to anybody who wants to ask you a question with regard to voter fraud. We'll start off with that topic.
Sure.
Who wants to go first?
Okay. First of all, before I get to asking that question, let me ask you something. Are you being funded by the evil Koch brothers?
Oh, for God's sake! I wish. I'm trying to get money from them. I'm telling you, I'm trying. If you know any way I can get to the Koch brothers, let me tell you. What we have to do in our country is...
I'm
I know, but I'm not kidding, because what we have to do to straighten this country out is reclaim the media. And so all these big money people who are putting money in these candidates, half of whom lose, need to, and I don't mean Fox News, because I think they're full of it half the time too. I mean legitimate, real media that gets to people, that tells you the truth about, this whole racist, sexist. I've never been a racist in my life. I've never been a sexist. And the Democrats get away with all these smears and lies and all this BS because they can control the media.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about they control the entire media. I mean, the media itself is, you can either go to AM radio or Fox News and listen to the right-wing version of the story, or you can go to CNN or MSNBC and hear the left-wing version of the story. We just don't have any media. We have a left-wing and right-wing corporate propaganda outlets that push one side or the other of a political position on news. My wife is from Nairobi, and she even comments on it. She's like, the news programs in the U.S. are not news. They're not like the news programs where she comes from, where the people go on, they read the facts, and that's the end of it. That's the end of the story. Where here in America with the 24-hour news cycle, most of it's not fact. It's like, here's the story, and here's 250 different opinions from our personally picked experts that will give you a view that we want you to have, depending on the political persuasion of the channel. Like, we don't have news. We don't have media anymore. We have commercially owned entertainment that masquerades itself as information.
Well, I don't think Fox is even that right. excuse me, sorry about that, but I don't think Fox tells the truth. I mean, they're, if they told the truth about Obama, he wouldn't be there. I mean, they don't tell the truth about him.
It's both sides. Both sides have their own.
Correct. Absolutely, I agree. So, if any of you do know the Koch brothers, give them a call and tell them to invest in the media.
I wish they would send me. I wish the Koch brothers would send me a paycheck. I mean, it would
seriously, where's our money from the Koch? I want Harry Reid to tell me why I can't get any money from the Koch brothers. I've never even met them. It's unbelievable. I paid for my documentary by myself, by the way. I was not funded by the Democrats or the Republicans. And interestingly about Fox is that they would not allow me on the show.
Hello?
Hello. Hang on. Let me find out what happened here.
That story sounded like it was going to be interesting.
Really? It's like on the edge of my seat.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I don't know what happened here. It wasn't me.
You muted me.
No, I didn't mute you. I don't know what happened. I was just sitting there enjoying it, and all of a sudden, I don't know what happened.
The last thing you said was Fox wouldn't let you on.
Fox wouldn't let me on. Back in 2010, I think, I was flown to Houston by True the Vote to show, Catherine Engelbeck's group that has all the problems with Representative Cummings and Holder and, trying to get rid of the voter fraud. And they flew me down there, and when I was there, I did an interview with Dan Patrick before he won the race in Texas, and then I did an interview to go on Fox with my documentary, and I was the only person they wouldn't let on the show, even though I paid for the documentary and produced it because I was a Republican, because everyone else was a Hillary Democrat. And they wanted it to be Democrat on Democrat voter fraud, which is interesting. But they purposely wouldn't let me on my own documentary because I was a Republican. I mean, that was kind of rude.
Well, it is rude, but that being said,
Hashtag Republican problems.
Hashtag Republican problems.
Sorry.
But this is Will Colley of Muslims for Liberty, and I think getting to foreign policy, you have a question for her on that, Will?
No, actually, when she was talking, she said something about, Obama was the most dangerous president, that there were multiple threats. Now, I'm not an Obama fan by any stretch of the imagination. I wasn't a Bush or really any president that we've had in my lifetime fan by any stretch of the imagination. But I was wondering if she could kind of go into a little more detail. That was a really vague statement, which gives what do you personally have, besides the voter fraud? Because, I mean, you were talking about voter fraud, and then you were other threats. So what are these things that you were talking about? Because I was, I've been interested in everything you had to say, so I'm wanting to hear more.
Well, I mean, look, from the very beginning, and even whatever we think about Fox, Hannity tried to educate people in the beginning. I don't think that you elect a man who sat for 20 years in Reverend Goddamn America Rights Church. I've interviewed women from, I have women from Trinity Church in my film. I went there. I have black women who've known him forever and who have a very different picture of him than the rest of the country. I know everything that they knew. I think the relationship with Rashid Khalidi, which is all over his book. That was one of his best friends, the radical Palestinian, just on the side of being a terrorist, anti-Semite, and pro-Palestine, but lunatic. He's a crazy guy. I picketed for the Khalidi tape in 2008 at the LA Times. I don't know if you know what that is, but that is the tape the LA Times has of the dinner where Obama with Rashid Khalidi and everybody were trashing Jews in Israel. Now, I know your side doesn't like Israel either, so to me, I am very pro-Israel. So I find having a guy in the White House that hates Jews in Israel a little appalling. But not that.
Like, is it a religious basis or is it a? Like
no, wait. It gets no. Wait. See, you guys are coming at that everything is about Muslims and Islam, because I've read all the articles and everything. You know, it's just such a huge. When you immediately go to that. When you go to that thing that if you like Israel, you're anti-Muslim and you're a bigot, it's sort of silly.
I'm not saying. I was asking a question. You're deflecting and talking about something else. I asked, is your personal connection to support for Israel?
No, I'm not. I'm not Christian. No. No, it's not religious. It's geopolitical.
Okay, well, then on a geopolitical basis.
I wasn't even finished talking about why Obama's dangerous. I mean, that's just his associations. Bill Ayers is one of the most dangerous people in American history. That's his best friend who launched his career. This is a man, Obama, who couldn't get FBI clearance, and yet he's the president. I mean, it goes on and on, from stealing money through the Woods Foundation that he and Ayers ran to, all the things. He's just, everything he's done has been anti-America, is what my problem is. It's not anti-Israel. It's whether, in my opinion, he's a very large Islamist, or Muslim, whatever you want to call him. He's on that side of it. That's not the dangerous part. That's just one part of it. The man doesn't like our country. It's the biggest part of it. He was put there to punish us, to humiliate us, to weaken us on the world stage, and he's done it. He's made a mockery of this country.
Obama's really affected our outlook on the national stage is the fact that he's basically continued most of Bush's policies. So when he was elected, he gave this really pretty flowery speech about we're sorry for all the bombings and stuff, but just so you know, I'm going to get a peace prize, and then I'm going to start bombing campaigns in 5 more countries. And while I'm at it, I'm going to start this new drone campaign, and we're going to set the bar for what could be a terrorist as a boy that's 12 years old. And that's it. That's as far as it has to go. That's what Obama's legacy in the Muslim world is funding people who kill civilians, killing civilians themselves. And, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's what the Muslim community sees in Obama today. Unfortunately, they're all stupid enough to vote Democrat again in 2016 because, well, they're colonized, weak people. I mean, let's just be honest. The American Muslim community is a colonized, weak community. They were Republicans up until 2002, and then the Republicans started saying mean things, and rather than reaching out and trying to do something about it proactively, they all just flipped parties, and now they're all up in the air and waving their arms about the Democrats, who were the first one to bomb their country to begin with. So, I mean, let's talk about this thing in reality. Instead of, some... I did
talk about reality, and I don't think that Obama's domestic policy has anything to do with Bush. What does him weakening our economy have to do with Bush? What does him intentionally weakening our economy have to do with Bush? Nothing.
Okay.
What does him passing Obamacare have to do with Bush? Nothing. What is him intentionally...
That was more like Nixon care anyway. It wasn't really Obamacare. That's been around for forever.
Same thing as Bush. I said way before Bush. This started way before Bush. This way before Bush. The Muslims didn't like the Democrats because the Democrats were one of Muslim countries under Clinton. So they all.
Why are we talking about Muslims? What is everything going to Muslims for? I don't get it. Are we all Muslim on the phone?
He's probably.
Where would that be an issue?
His legacy among Muslims, the supposed Muslim, according to you, this.
Just so you know, Will is a practicing Muslim on the air, and he's a very good friend of mine.
But
I don't care who's a Muslim or not. It's got nothing to do with what Obama was put there to do to this country. I mean, I can't look at everything that Obama does through the eyes of a Muslim. I just can't.
You're the one who drew that line. And I'm just saying that the line that you drew is nonsense.
No, it's not nonsense. His own pastor says he's a Muslim. He's a guy who, whatever you want to call him, his leaning is more towards Islam, okay, than anything. He's not a friend to Israel. He's harmed Israel. He's done exactly the opposite of what any other American president has done. And that's a small part of the... This is a small part of the problem. Every time you discuss Obama on this phone call, Republicans come up. And this guy is so beyond what any of this Nixon and Bush...
A year. Is that what we do to people we're not friends with? Do we give them $1 billion more? Bush gave them $2.4 billion. Obama gives them $3.3 billion, plus the $270 million Iron Dome paid for by the American taxpayers given by Obama, plus upkeep on the Iron Dome system. So is that what we do to people that we're not friends with? I know that if I have people that I don't like, I don't give them $1 billion extra a year during my entire...
I don't like people. I don't fund Hamas and Palestine so they can shoot rockets at my children. And this is the problem. This is why libertarians get like 5% of the vote all the time. You try and have a logical conversation about something, and it immediately goes to Bush, or it immediately goes to some crazy thing. The problem is that we all need to recognize across the board that there's a bigger evil than party here, which is the people that own Obama, namely people like George Soros, don't really care if you sit around and talk about Muslims all day, because their goal is so much bigger than all of this talk and so much more deadly and dangerous to our existence as a sovereign country, a sovereign nation, to our security, our prosperity, our safety. That when you get in this nitpicky little,
Let's put it this way. Let's cut through the pure, unadulterated bullshit that with the butter knife here. Okay, the fact of the matter is that you also have the fact that we are giving taxpayer funding, mind you, taxpayer funding to Israel, foreign aid to Israel, in the form of American taxpayers' dollars. I don't want my tax money going to Muslim countries or even Israel for any reason. Okay? Israel has more than enough capability of defending itself from any attacks, whether it's from Palestine or any country. Same thing with Palestine. They are well within their rights to defend their entire neighborhood, their entire turf. Any country out there.
Their entire square block of land that they have.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So, you were going to say
okay, so I get it. You're against the funding of Israel. I still think, in the scheme of things, I don't think that's like the hugest issue.
It is. You're stealing money from me and giving it to Israel.
Yeah, but you're stealing my money and giving it to Hamas and Palestine terrorists.
I'm not stealing anybody's money. I don't want it to go to anywhere. You want it to go to Israel.
The state's taking that money, whether you wanted to. How they use that money at our expense is done at our expense. Taxpayers have no control over how that money is being funneled in through. Let me put it this way, and I even said this to Mike Renzulli, who was very much on the same thinking that you are on. Where were the Republicans when it came to the Irish Republican Army of the 1990s, or even before that, the 1980s? A lot of taxpayer money went to Ireland, to those terrorist groups, including Sinn Féin, and not a damn word was said about it. Not a damn thing was done to get rid of that funding. Yet Sinn Féin is still in power. They're actually backing up, as I recall you were saying a while back, Will, and they're actually still, on the verge of possibly engaging in some more terrorism right past Belfast, maybe in the near future here. I don't know when that's going to happen, but that's the reason why I'm bringing that point up is because no matter where that taxpayer money goes to any country, that money is going to go into the coffers of the brutal dictators. They're going to use that money. That money doesn't go to the people who need it. It doesn't go to the poor. It doesn't go to the middle class. It goes to the corrupt governments in there. Why were we assisting why were we assisting ISIS, training and funding their military, while we were helping out the Assad regime? Can you explain that for once?
Better yet, why
would you think that I would support that when I'm against everything Obama does, and you don't know how I feel about funding Israel because I never said anything about it. I never even opened my mouth. You just assume when you get a Republican on the phone that you got to start these attacks, and I've got news for you. We have a bigger job here than libertarian malcontents sitting around screaming at Republicans all day, because that's not working. I mean, honestly, it's really not working. It doesn't have any effect on me at all. It doesn't affect the low numbers of whatever votes you get. Your whole goal in life.
You're mocking. Got it.
I'm not mocking. I've been attacked by people saying when I got on the phone I was a war hawk before I even said anything to anybody, that I don't agree with libertarians on social issues. I did not tell you I was a war hawk. Did I say that we should defeat ISIS? Yes, of course. Not just for us, but for everybody in the world who's being massacred.
And by we, that means other people shedding blood.
Just so you know that we're not that we're against ISIS too. Okay, I don't like the fact.
So then why am I a war hawk, and why is this assault on Republicans? If you guys would spend a little more time not channeling all your hate towards people that are on your team, conservatism is. You're attacking Republicans. That's all I'm getting from you guys. And so you have me on the show and put me on the defensive, and I'm not on the defense. I couldn't care less what anybody thinks. I care about my country.
Damn you,
That's
Todd.
it. I care about America. That's it.
You only brought me on this show as the token Republican, didn't you?
Oh, no.
You
know that when your
bastard.
When your buddy found out I wasn't a libertarian, he canceled on. When Todd found out I wasn't libertarian, he canceled on me and told me not to come on the show the first time. How about that? I was willing to come, and he said, no, I don't want you on the show.
At one point, I was going to have you on as a panelist, and I thought, well, maybe it wasn't such a good idea to have you on because I guess the feeling I got from you, the vibe that is that it would be too contentious and it was going to be too combative. Okay, but since then I figured, okay, why not give you a chance to speak your piece, even if we don't agree on this issue. I'm sure there are other issues we may very well agree on. Okay, so we're not completely trashing you on every single point you make when it comes to Obama. I don't like Obama any more than the next guy around. I'm not a fan of Obama. I was against Obamacare, and I still am. Okay?
I can proudly say that. It's such a nice thing to be able to say. I never voted for him at a single time.
I never voted for Obama in 2008 and 2012. Okay? So there you have it.
Well, look, you know, I just think personally, and, you know, it's a thing that the Democrats don't do, and they don't do it at all. And part of the problem that the Democrats have old coots like Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi, who really should be wiped off anybody's political agenda, is that they don't primary their own people. They don't fight amongst themselves. They support their entire party regardless. On our side of it, because conservatives are very diverse and have very different ideas, there is this alleged separation between the Libertarians and the moderate Republicans and the, you know, far-right evangelical Christians. All of that, to me, is just pissing in the wind, because I don't want to spend my days attacking my own. What I want to do is just move the country forward. I don't agree with you guys on certain things, and on certain things on the social issues, I do. But I'm not going to attack you for your beliefs, even though I don't agree. What I'm going to do is ask the reasonable people that aren't the extremists to join together to start a new day in this country, which we need, which I think Tuesday was a step in the right direction. I mean, you know, when you hear people who just, when we just elected incredible people like Mia Love and Tim Scott and Joni Ernst and all, I mean, we have an amazing, young, healthy group of people that even the Democrats now have to retire that war on us with the racism and the sexism, because we have the young, healthy, diverse freshman class that I personally am proud of. If you'd ask me, am I proud to be a Republican? Of course I am. What's the alternative? What is the alternative? Being one of them?
I don't. Go ahead.
I mean, and so I'm not going to spend my days trashing people that are on my team, because it's not worth my time. I respect you guys' difference and what you believe, okay? I don't think every ill in the world is Republican. I really don't. I don't even see that remotely. I see them as the last hope, because there's no hope on the other side. None. Absolutely none.
Okay. Let's come to some sort of agreement here. Okay. What social issues do you agree with us on? Like, are you for ending the drug war? Are you for, or at least on some microscopic level, legalizing marijuana, whether it's for recreational use or medicinal use or both?
I'll tell you how I feel about that. I feel like, you know, I personally hate pot. I mean, for me, you know, I've had my days with blow, which was a lot of fun. But, you know, smoking pot makes me sit in a corner and stare at my hand. So it's not something I like, and I've seen a lot of friends and family ruin their lives over it. My question to you guys, which is an odd thing because I really don't give a damn about pot, is why would you want the government involved in your pot? Like, now they get to tax it. I think they voted it down in California because nobody wants them to tax it. Because once they get in your business, then you know, if you can't
what
get
I want
pot,
is people to stop getting thrown in jail for pot. The government's already in our business with regards.
Right, but I mean, the bottom line is, can't you get pot anywhere? If you can't get pot and you're an overeat, if you're anybody and you can't just walk down the street and get pot, that's scary, because it's everywhere. And so I don't know why anybody wants to put the federal government in your drugs.
Well, so
go ahead.
And I agree with that 100%. The federal government shouldn't be involved in it. The issue is without the voters saying, yes, we're going to let you tax it, basically what they're saying is you can throw us in jail for it. So it's still a federal issue, whether it's legalized or not.
Well, but where I live in California, it's not. You get basically a parking ticket for it. So
that's California.
That's one part of the country. That's not everywhere.
All right. So I mean, I don't live that life. So if you guys want your pot, you know, go ahead on. I don't live and die by that. Have your pot. Have your gay marriage. You know, the thing about abortion.
Look,
I don't personally like abortions either. But if people are going to have them, let them. What?
What about personal contract?
What about personal
Yeah, like me and Todd decide that we want to have, I don't know, we want to start a business together, and we decide that we want to lay out our contract by our understanding of the law of the Klingons from Star Trek, because they have like a whole legal system online. I'm serious. No, seriously, they have like a whole legal system online. You can go read it. What if he and I chose to dictate a contract by the regulations of Klingon law? What? And that's between he and I, and he and I, you know, gone into this agreement between each other on our own mutual consent. You believe private contract law?
You're asking also because that's gonna head towards Sharia law. You know.
Okay. Let me ask you this.
That's somebody bringing up Muslims again.
Has been enshrined in Western society since the creation of common law, and it's only come under threat in the last 5 years in the United States. Right, for two people to denote a contract by anything that they choose to has been enshrined and protected as a right of the people since the creation of common law. And it's only come under attack by Republicans over the course of the last 5 years. So, again, do you support the right of personal contracts and probate?
You know, to be honest with you, I have no earthly idea because it's not something that I've discussed. I'm only going to discuss something with you if I'm educated on it. I'll go look it up and deal with it and educate myself, and then I'll answer you because I'm not going to do that when I can't.
Let me ask you this. What about free trade and immigration, for instance? Okay, let's deal with those issues. Those are the heart of the issues as far as I'm concerned. You have a lot of Republicans who say, well, we need to secure the borders. We need to, put up this big, humongous ass fence along the southern border between us and Mexico because we don't want Juan Valdez crossing the border any more than, say, we want David Beckham to come into the country illegally unless he has a green card or a visa. So,
you can kick a soccer ball, you're fine.
Yeah.
Do you want me to answer that?
Yeah, go ahead. How do you feel about immigration?
Here's how. Well, first of all, I am the descendant of immigrants from Sicily who came over here on a boat from Italy and were penniless.
I noticed.
And who came legally and were screened for disease and were, never on welfare, never on food stamps, built a business. A spaghetti business, believe it or not. They made so much money that my dad got a Rolls Royce for graduating from high school and a 3-carat diamond ring. I mean, my grandparents worked. They came here, they worked, they learned English, they spoke English, they contributed, they put 5 kids through college. My dad went to Notre Dame and Notre Dame Law School, and they were the American dream. How could I ever not support that? This country lets 1 million people a year in legally. Okay? More than any country in the world, and to me, that's even too much. We have an incredibly diverse group of people in this country, and that's what this was founded on. And we do have immigration law, and some people do believe in living under the laws of the country, like myself. And the 1 million people who stand in line, who come here and come here legally are welcome. I open arms, welcome them all. I do not welcome people who cut in front of the line, who jump over the fence, who are not screened for disease because there are 8 children dead now from enterovirus, which was brought in from all these illegal kids from Central America. Now innocent American kids have disease, okay? They're not screened for disease. They're not here legally. There's a lot of gang members that come through. There's terrorists that can come through. And by the way, you guys should educate yourself. You can't build a fence on the border. It's 2,000-something miles, and some of it is in water sources, and some of it is where there are treaties where you can't build it. So you can build fences in more urban, populated areas. You can put military on the border. It's a huge issue, and it would take 30 years and $30 billion to build a fence. So it's not happening tomorrow.
We know you can't build a fence, but it's something that a lot of the extreme Republicans push. We wanted to know your take on that.
my take is that we should secure our border. And that's not extreme at all. That's having respect and dignity for your country. There's no country in the world. You can't just walk into North Korea. They shoot you. You can't walk into France, Italy, Russia. Name me one country where you can just walk in and just declare yourself an American citizen. No, you don't even declare yourself American citizen. Name me one country that does that. Name me one.
Bettina, let me point out something here.
States, when your family came here, how much did it cost them? Besides their ticket to get here, how much did it cost them?
Exactly. That's the point I was bringing up.
Charge for their immigration process.
I have no earthly idea. What difference does it make? They did it legally.
That's what makes a difference.
A lot of difference.
No, it doesn't make a difference. It doesn't make a difference.
Now there's a big
You're subjecting people to disease and harm with your open border that don't deserve it. The American people deserve to be safe.
This isn't even about open borders, though.
We don't have those.
I was married to a Canadian.
1 second.
I was married to a Canadian. We had to pay $1,500 for her to get a visa to come to the United States and start the process.
Okay, so what?
I'm not saying that it should be wide open. I'm just saying that the fact that people have to pay so much money now.
Well, why don't you try to move to another country? Because I've tried it. Why don't you try to move to another country? Because I've tried to live in France. They wouldn't let me. I've tried to live in Italy. They wouldn't let me.
You're just
talking about the U.S.
No, but the point is, why shouldn't we have a secure, safe country? Why shouldn't we be secure?
Bettina, can I
because it's not free enough, why don't you just go somewhere else? Well, you see, it used to be that free here. It was that way at one point in time. And the alarmists and the anti-Chinese leagues and the anti-Hispanics and the anti-Russian leagues.
Oh, for God's sake, here we are at bigotry because we want people to obey the law.
It's called history.
How about a history lesson for you then? Listen to what he's saying.
Please don't give me a history lesson when I was a history major on the dean's list at USC. I really don't need a history lesson. Because I'm anti-Hispanic because I want the border to be secure. That makes me anti-Hispanic.
No, that's not what he said. You're not listening. That's the issue. You're too quick to defend.
$50,000 to get married with the threat of the government coming into my house and taking my wife away from her breastfeeding children for the last 6 years. So don't tell me about how great the American legal.
They're not going to come take your wife. They don't deport anybody. Nobody gets deported. Okay, I was married to a British man who ended up going to jail for 6 years for being Bernie Madoff, and he never once was stopped by anybody, and he never, and he was here on an expired visa.
Hold it.
I get a letter in the mail. I get a letter in the mail from the government. It gives me two choices: your money or your life. They don't even tell me how much money to send, where to send it, or when it's got to be due in by. Just one statement. Give us more money or your wife needs to leave the country in 30 days. If we catch her, if you don't give us money and we catch her, she's barred from the country for 10 years. So no, by trying to follow the law, by doing what you say, by what you say is so great and so just, my family has been extorted for almost $10,000 by the government over the course of the last 6 years. So don't tell me about how great and wonderful our immigration system is. Our immigration is
by the way, I don't think our immigration system is great. I never said that. What I said is that as an American citizen, I have the right to be secure and to be safe. I pay taxes for that, and that's the job of the president. I'm sorry that you had a problem, but that doesn't mean that I should be raped by an M16 member because he crossed the border because you said he's welcome here. Okay, and that's happening.
The American Conservative says that you are incorrect about that. They did a study, and it shows...
No, they didn't. You guys, there's gang members coming every... Okay, you know what? We're going to have to agree to disagree on this because the bottom line is the immigration laws are on the books. They're not being...
That's what the American
I'm just not going to agree with you that the border should be wide open and anybody should come here. That's ridiculous. And by the way, that's a huge reason why the Republicans won on Tuesday night is that people do not feel safe.
This is a factual argument. You're not using a factual argument. You're using...
Yes, I am using a factual argument.
You're using propaganda and fear tactics.
I'm not using propaganda. I'm telling you, I do not have to live in a country with an open border, and I'm not going to. And no, neither is the rest of the country.
Support it or propaganda.
You're not defending your position with facts, though. You're saying that you're using emotion-based arguments. Oh, I don't have to be raped by an MI6 member. No, you don't, because you're no more likely...
There were just 2 cops shot by illegals in California that were deported 4 times. Are you on fact? 2 deputies are dead in California because the guys were deported 4 times and came back. You support that? Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you!
What you just did was project your fear onto somebody else. That's not.
No, that was a fact. You want to use fact? I just used it on you.
You used a one-off anecdote, and you're using that to claim that everyone's coming
in California.
Yes,
it happens here all the time.
No,
all the time.
Individuals commit crimes. Individuals commit crimes. Individuals commit crimes. Not everybody who walks across the border commits crimes like that.
Right. Not everybody.
The majority of
there's people dead because you want the border open. There's people dead because you don't want to deport people. There's people dead because we can't deport illegals?
No, you're putting words in my mouth. Stop and take a breath.
All right, we're going to have to watch.
Although that is more people dead from rape and shooting than were dead from Ebola. I just want to point that out real quick.
Yeah,
right, and there's more people dead from enterovirus than Ebola.
There's no substantial evidence that shows that it has anything to do with illegal immigration.
There is substantial evidence.
There's no evidence.
Cheryl Atkinson just did a report on it. I trust her over you. Sorry.
That's okay. You bring up anecdotes and think they're funny.
You're going to have to flat out disagree.
You guys, you know what? I have to go because I said I'd be here till 6.
Okay. Thank you very much for calling in, Bettina. We're going to have to disagree, and we're just going to have to leave it at that. Thank you nonetheless.
Thank you, guys.
Don't forget to look under your bed for jihadists and Mexicans tonight. They might jump out to grab you.
I don't know why you wouldn't have her as a panelist. What are you talking about, confrontational?
Really? Fun.
I know. You couldn't even have a quick discussion of anything and talk about that because she immediately then denies it and runs to the next thing. I didn't say that. You just said it.
I know.
Crazy.
I know.
I will readily admit right now that I completely agree with her that Obama is a big threat.
I do too. He's a complete threat. But Jesus Christ, can we talk about why he's a threat in the realm of where unicorns don't exist? Here.
Yeah, I know that was ultra conspiracy theory.
I know.
Day and night.
The overwhelming majority of people in this country on welfare are not immigrants. I work in a TANF system, welfare to work program, getting people who are on welfare back to work, getting them out of the system, getting them into jobs. Overwhelming majority in this country born in the U.S. Overwhelming majority of sexual violence committed in this country by people who were born and raised here. She's just using scare tactics. Yes, there have been immigrants who have come over and committed horrible crimes.
I was going to
trying to make that everything is ridiculous.
I was going to ask her at one point, which is because she mentioned that they came here illegally, they were screened, which is all very true from a historical perspective, but that's because immigration laws were different then.
That's what I pointed out.
Well, that was the whole point with how much did it cost them. It didn't cost them anything.
It didn't
because they didn't have to.
That out.
They didn't have to go through that process then.
Yeah, exactly. They're comparing apples to oranges and then pretending it's honest.
Sleep. She deferred to emotional, complete nonsense. That's what I was saying.
Listen,
if you want to have the debate,
documentary filmmaker.
For real.
Documentary filmmaker.
I'm afraid of what I'm not even going to bother watching it because I'm sure it's full of emotion and probably a little light on facts.
And
every documentary filmmaker that I know is based on emotion and not facts.
And not to mention, she was piling on anecdotes after anecdotes, and she had nothing to show for it.
It tells her when she kept saying, like, oh, well, this guy was deported 4 times and he killed somebody. That doesn't change the facts. That, like, even the Republican publication, the American Conservative, openly said, after studying the statistics, that an illegal immigrant is no more likely to commit a violent crime than anyone else in this entire country. No more likely. You are
They're actually more likely to have violent crimes committed against them because they have no protection.
If all of us were in a room with an illegal immigrant, she would have equal amount of danger from every person that's sitting there as she does from this guy who's an illegal, even if he's covered in crazy tattoos. Like, literally, she's just as much of an opportunity to be assaulted by, her white
for fuck's sake,
impossible community as she does to walk through the middle of a Hispanic neighborhood. And that's what she's not accepting, is the fact that the statistics are not on her side.
The overwhelming majority of sexual violence is committed by somebody you know.
Right. And for fuck's sake, if she saw Eric Estrada, she'd be running the opposite direction, for crying out loud, thinking he's illegal.
Let's be fair. Eric Estrada nowadays, a lot of people would be running the other direction.
No, I don't have a role for you.
Only generalizations. Everything that they do, beginning to end, is based upon generalizations. They pick 3 examples of the gay community, and all gay people stand for those 3 guys that are walking with leather harnesses and headdresses on from the gay parade, and they pick 2 or 3 Muslims, and every Muslim now is like 2 guys now stand for 1.7 billion people, and they do the same thing with Hispanics.
You notice,
and the MI6 guy and the disease-ridden mother and child, like, that's it. That's the only thing that's acceptable.
Exactly.
But that's the same exact thing that was said about immigrants in the 1850s against the Irish, in the 1880s against the Irish, in the early 1920s when Eastern Europeans were starting to come here from Russia and Germany and the Ukraine. Yeah. The same argument that's been used against immigrants, whether they were white, black, brown, Chinese. And
we can't have those chains coming in here because they'll turn us into communist China.
But that was also the other point that Will was making, was that the whole reason why there is such an exorbitant dollar amount attached to immigration now, legal immigration, is because of that. Because it was, you know what, we don't want any more Chinese people here. We're going to charge them $1,000 to come here now.
She wouldn't even address that. She wouldn't even address it.
8, this is the last time.
Yeah. And what I find interesting is, did you notice how quick she cut and ran from the whole thing? It was like she was frustrated. She knew she was losing the argument, and she proved my point. She's a pro-war Republican. And she tried to paint herself as if she's not, when she is. But
you can't be pro-Israel and not be pro-war, because that's all Israel exists to do, is to provide a welfare state for the military-industrial complex when the United States itself is not waging war. Because that's all they've really ever done that's a positive.
When has the United States not been waging war? Come on.
Well, I don't know. We had a lull there, like Reagan and Bush. I mean, we weren't like lobbing bombs and stuff like that. Developing.
Look, we were still taking out Libyas and Granadas.
Little tiny stuff. No major things like we're doing now, where they need to be sending weapons all the time. We suddenly don't have money to pay for them. But we had to have like a welfare state that kept the military-industrial complex vibrant, no matter what happened. And that's all that that's the only net positive that Israel has had for the United States, is they've kept our weapons industry robust forever.
I noticed one thing she did was a lot of false comparisons. And it was when I challenged her and said, I don't want my money taken and given to Israel. Well, I don't want you taking my money and sent to Hamas. I'm like, but you don't understand, Libertarians. We don't want the money going to either of them. You want it going to Israel. You didn't get it. She didn't get it.
Yeah. She didn't get it.
That's what I call a no-state solution. The whole Israeli-Palestinian conflict, I don't think either side should win. I think that they should dissolve the borders of both and just be like, look, this is land, y'all live here. Live here. It's not your land, it's not your land. It's land that y'all all want to live here, so live here, okay? Either just live here or live here. Those are your options because you're no longer a state on either side. And you know what? Becoming a state is no longer an option. This is like annexed land. It is not going to be a state. It's just open land. You live here, be good to each other, and if you don't, we don't give a shit. Kill each other. I don't care.
Hey, go ahead, Jim.
One thing I did find interesting, one last point before we move on to another thing, was her belief that there's just conservatives and then there's just Democrats. And Libertarians are just other versions of conservatives. I'm like, she really doesn't get us.
And that goes back to the whole thing she was saying. She was saying, like, oh, well, the Republicans, the conservatives and the moderates and the Libertarians, and, why are we all fighting each other, Well, it doesn't exactly work that way.
I thought and she's a history major. Okay. Anyway.
Yeah, so for her history major, I wonder what grade did she get in the class? A D-.
Have today existed back in the day, there would never have been a Carnegie. There would have never been a Morgan. Like the whole entire American Industrial Revolution never would have happened. There would have never been a Tesla. None of that would have ever happened. It would have all happened in other countries if it happened at all. So, I mean, the fact that she supports weakening the country in the name of what her view is strengthening. Like, she wants, it's not about strengthening the country to her, it's about strengthening identity. That's usually what conservatives are about. They want to preserve, the status quo of the
identity. Notice she was silent when I brought up the whole IRA issue. She didn't
understand it. She didn't know it. She didn't understand it, I'm sure.
Yeah, so
I want to know where you're getting your data from. Where's this next attack coming from?
Well, I'm just saying.
They've been at a ceasefire for decades now.
No, there was an attack about 2 months ago. There was a car bomb about 2 months ago. Yeah.
I still don't follow politics.
Well, it's not this one, so it didn't make the news.
Yeah, exactly. I don't care. Fine.
But,
it wasn't brown people, so nobody gave a shit.
Right.